millions of dollars into building backwater resorts, building resorts by the coastal areas. Imagine after 5 years how your TripAdvisor review is going to be, how Booking.com review is going to be. That you pay $200 per night to stay in a fancy place and you can't even take a dump in the morning because toilet system is all stuck because of climate change. What is a guarantee of ROI for all these investors? Shouldn't a destination do a vulnerability assessment about climate change impact on the properties? Yesterday we heard about that it is too late, probably we should include climate change. Actually we are too late, but now. Let me show you. So what you saw right now is a slow onset of a disaster. Unfortunately, tidal flooding is not yet declared as a natural disaster by the government of Kerala, which means those affected people that you saw cannot afford to move from the houses where they can't live because they will never get compensation, unlike the normal floods, unlike heavy rains, all the disasters that Kerala went through, in 2018, 2019. So unless and otherwise it's declared as a natural disaster, tidal flooding will keep on seeping into your homes and people will continue to suffer. Now let me show you one small video about how a sudden onset of a disaster and the impact on the community.
In August 2018, we experienced a once-in-100 years deluge. For a few days it was fun. By mid-August, incessant rain forced rivers to breach and mudslides from the mountains. Then came the flood. In Chennamangalam, the weaving community of more than 300 families saw their livelihoods washed away. Looms, properties, stock drowned under the water up to 12 feet deep. Piles of stinking soil clothes lay strewn behind the weaving units and along the village road. Where most saw devastation, social entrepreneurs Lakshmi and Gopi saw opportunities. This is where the story of Chekutis began. Through crowdsourcing, 50,000 volunteers in 9 countries upcycled the ruined clothes into 120,000 plus Chekutis. 360 dolls out of each worthless sari. Selling the Chekutis raised the much needed funds for the weavers. They also captured the mood of the time. A beacon of resilience and solidarity shown by our people during the flood. This child from the village of Chennamangalam was someone we all could relate to. It had scars. It had stains. It didn't pretend another perfect world at all. It was us. They are used as gifts, decorations, luggage tags and lanyards, as workshop tool for children affected by trauma, as a memory to hold on to, as a reminder of the height we reached as a humanity. The Chekutis are still young, but they are growing, sharing new stories of supporting the underprivileged with dignity, and telling the world that Kerala isn't just only God's own country. It's also a land of Chekutis. Because this isn't just a story of one village, it's the beginning of 35 million stories, all from one place. A place called Kerala.
irrespective of the damages that you witnessed, I look at this as a positive story. Positive story of how the emotional connection of travelers around the world and very dynamic local population, how they came together to make sure that not a single woman lost a job. And it sort of became the beacon of resilience, which kind of gave a lot of soft power for the brand Kerala. Now that brings me to my last point. Just imagine the power of tourism sector. Is there any country in the world that doesn't have tourism? Very few. Most places thrive on tourism. Now that also brings in a lot of challenges, but what I want you to think about is the potential of $9 trillion economy working together with a $30 billion humanitarian sector. When the crisis happens, the humanitarian sector ideally would need transportation, vehicles, accommodation, the knowledge and know-how of managing the supply chain and logistics, and highly skilled human beings, highly skilled human resources that we have in the tourism industry. And think about the food and beverage, accommodation and shelter that we can provide. And not the least, think about the possibility of how the tourism industry can actually raise funds in such a short period from anywhere in the world during a crisis. The humanitarian sector all around the world, they are struggling, they are spreading far too thin. Looking at the crisis that's happening in Turkey, the crisis that just happened in Syria, and even what we went through. Now think about the possibility of how we can actually repurpose tourism and make it more meaningful in such a way that we can literally create better places for our people to live. That's a huge potential, untapped. Now, why not repurpose the tourism in such a way that we can actually create climate resilient and climate responsible destination? This is not a hypothesis. This is something that a lot of people are doing in different parts of the world, but they have never managed to come together on a common platform. Can we all come together and build that platform so that we can all work? Just one, I just saw Raj Basu nodding there. The reason was 2009 when Cyclone Aila happened in Sundarbans, there were two tour operators who were first responders there. It was not the Panchayat, it was not the state government. It was a company called Help Tourism, and another company was the Blue Yonder. We could repurpose our business and work with the local community, be first responders, and we raised enormous amount of funds during that short period. Now, why don't we also use this already, like, when I talk about creating this, co-creating the climate resilient and climate responsible destination, I think that should be the priority of Kerala as a destination, and not just getting busy with signing some colonial hangover, Magna Cartas of the world. There's so much of tremendous indigenous local knowledge untapped, even in the state. Work with us. Interact with us. That's my appeal to the government here, but I don't see any government here. So now, yesterday, unfortunately, we heard our young dynamic director saying that it's very difficult to actually build eco-friendly stuff. That was kind of humiliating for all the people sitting there, like the doyens of tourism who's been doing these things not after RT Mission came to power. They've been doing since 1993. Look at Raj Basu, what he has done in Sundarbans or in Arunachal Pradesh. Look at the entire series of buildings that are built by CGH Earth. So there is enormous amount of knowledge that is there in the industry, but government needs to talk to us. They need to visit us. They need to interact. Then they will realize that there is a lot of innovation that's happening in the industry. Now, this is what happens when you believe that responsible tourism actually came to Kerala only after RT Mission. That's exactly what yesterday our colleague Swaminathan was talking, that a lot of crazy, beautiful, innovative initiatives, it's been there in Kerala for, it's been there for many decades ago. So, it takes courage for the government, it takes courage for the RT Mission to acknowledge the innovation that's happening in the industry. That's where you will get industry partners to work with you. Why do you think there are hardly any industry people here sitting in the audience? And we call this a global responsible tourism conference. And then, It's not just after the RT mission came in. If you look at the list of awards won by tour operators and property owners in Kerala, they have started picking these international awards, not from WTM. Condé Nast Traveller has given a tour operator in Kerala the 4 category award as World Service Award way back in 2000. They don't just go around and barging about it. ITP Berlin, you look at that, the number of tour operators have been celebrated because of responsible tourism. So private sector has been doing enormous amount of work, and it is the responsibility for the government to acknowledge and work with them if you want to build an ecosystem. I do not think personally the government job is not about running tours. That's not their business. It's not the government's business to run tours. Now their job is to facilitate an ecosystem. Facilitate an ecosystem in the sense that you can have social entrepreneurs come up with innovative products. Facilitate it. You don't go around running tours. Good old days, government used to produce soaps. They used to do everything. You have social entrepreneurs who are doing amazing job in a state like Kerala, not just Kerala, around the world. Now, that's why probably Raj Basu yesterday asked why you need to have multiple declarations and Magna Cartas when all you need to have is a sustainable tourism policy for the state. That's all you need to have. You will sign MOU, you will have a declaration. Have we been seeing what happened to the Kerala declaration? I was part of the team that co-edited in front of 600 people. It was dusted and taken away yesterday from 2008 till today. So what's the point in signing up all these things if you can't implement things in the ground? Now, you wouldn't have heard any delegates walking around looking for, like the problem of government running the show is also that, like yesterday I was so embarrassed when my friends from North India asked me, or some of the foreign friends asked me for the dinner, where are the Kerala meals? No, I don't think anybody came from Uttar Pradesh yesterday to have gobi Manchurian and some dal makhani. Responsible tourism is about celebrating what is local. If RT Mission and the government of Kerala do not understand that, you are in a wrong place. This is not your business. Responsible tourism is about celebrating local. Please. That is where you provide authentic experience, and it's not where you fire cracker into a fresh water in the middle of the night. And then you call that responsible tourism. I am sorry, I disagree totally with that. That's not the way we should run the business. That's not what Kerala is known for. Now, this is what happens when you actually forget what is there locally and desperately run for approvals and recognitions from a foreign country. There's enormous amount of work that's going on here. Look around. Like those people who are brought here, the foreign delegates sitting here, how many of them have seen Kerala other than what RT Mission is doing? Have you traveled beyond Kochi? Have you gone to North Kerala? Have you seen? You guys should demand that. You guys should demand, we want to see what the private sector is doing here, instead of only seeing coconut climbing. There's more happening in Kerala. Now I will conclude with just 1 minute video of an initiative that we are doing. I'm not here to promote my business, but just to show that how private sector, tour operators or hoteliers can actually be part of the solution. You saw the video earlier about the struggles that the communities are going through, but also in that video is ending with a positive note because it's about the innovation that's happening. I'll just take 1 more minute of your time by just showing a video where we show you how the local solutions about climate adaptability in terms of bringing in the livelihood option for communities in crisis. Thank you. So that's all from my side. And I was asked to be a moderator to moderate this session, and they said I can make a presentation, so I used that time to share what I feel about this whole business. Now, I want to introduce you to Sharmari, a very old friend from Sri Lanka. So she will be giving an insight into what is happening in Sri Lanka in the past. She's been working in the sector for more than 2 decades. She was also part of the mainstream representing the tourism marketing Sri Lanka. At the same time, she moved into the sustainability space a long while ago, so I invite Sharmari to come and share her experiences, please. Please. I don't know where the presentation is. Guys, the presentation.
Thank you. Ayubowan, everybody. That means may you all have a long life. So enter. This is what Marco Polo told so many centuries ago. Ceylon is undoubtedly the finest island of its size in the world. And I'm sure those of you who have visited Sri Lanka would agree with that. Today, it's just next door. It only took me 50 minutes to get here. It's a tiny island. I think we are much smaller than Kerala, 65,000 square kilometers, 20 million people, tiny dot in the world map. So people are wondering now whether Gopi was talking about climate change, whether Sri Lanka has got wiped out from the map, not because of climate change, because of economic downturn. So I was wondering whether I should give a headline to my presentation, From Boom to Broke. I thought better not, because I'm here to talk about positives of tourism. And I can explain you how that is working in Sri Lanka. In my talk, I like to touch about people, environment, climate change, reducing carbon footprint, going local, skills gap in tourism, indigenous knowledge, and why tourism is a business case, even more than before for Sri Lanka. So, this slide I should have deleted after hearing Professor Harold Goodwin's talk about sustainability criteria. Unfortunately, we do have GSTC criteria and national government-based sustainable tourism standards, which was introduced in 2019. Then, to talk about people, this is the time that Sri Lankan tourism industry has to look after their own people in the industry, plus rest of the people in the country. So people is the top priority. Looking after the people who need help most is the top priority for Sri Lanka. Then I will move on to environment. In the environment section, I have selected 2 hotels for one particular reason. Now this hotel is Jetwing Viljana. The picture you see below is a barren land which was not used for anything else. They developed a water reservoir and built these villas in between those reservoirs, the water. Why I have selected these 2 hotels? Basically for one special reason. From my experience, what I have seen, when accommodation hotels are built, when the design, at the design level itself, when they look at sustainability, responsible tourism, they are much ahead than the rest, who don't think they just build a square, large 15-story hotel without any consideration for environment, any consideration for biodiversity, and all of a sudden when sustainable tourism, responsible tourism become a big trend, they try to convert their hotels to responsible tourism accommodations providers, which really doesn't work that well. So the hotels that are built, designed on a sustainability mode work so well, and they can stay ahead than the rest. So this particular hotel created biodiversity, habitats. It didn't happen overnight, but habitats, this is the loris, you see, slender loris, Ceylon slender loris, which we thought has disappeared, arrived at this hotel. And the cats, smallest, I'm sure whether, I don't know whether you have the rusty spotted cat, the smallest cat in the world, tiny cat. There are 3 cat varieties resident in this property. Then, when I landed in Kerala, I could not escape seeing this big, massive billboard saying, we are the first airport to go solar power. It kept on, not once, twice, thrice, and I had mixed feelings then. I was thinking, oh, it's fantastic, my goodness, they've achieved so much. Then I was thinking, oh, my presentation. I'm going to boast about one particular hotel achieving 73% of alternate energy source through solar power. That's where we are. So anyway, I kept the slide to talk about solar power. It's a different scenario in Sri Lanka. We are not allowed, because of the tiny space we have, we are not allowed to put solar panels on land. It can be only on rooftops. There's one experiment that happened with Jetwin, where they've got a little solar power farm, I should call it that. Other than that, everybody has to fix it on their rooftops. So we are concentrating, and I said a business case before more than ever now, because of the energy cost. See, we have zero forex in our treasury. So there's a power crisis. Diesel cost is escalating every day. So the companies are, these companies who have got solar power and other alternate energies are saving millions of money every month. Okay, so this is Kandalama Hotel, and this is another architectural marvel designed by the renowned architect in South Asia, Jeffrey Bawa. So it looks like, you can see it's all hidden. It's 150 rooms, and you can see here like wildlife. It's a space open to the environment. So this particular hotel has a gasifier where they use wood, Guinea wood, which is grown freely in the dry zone. It needs very little water. You just, like the stick this lady is holding, you stick it on the ground, it grows. The leaves provide fodder for the animals. The nodules in the roots provides nitrogen and nutrition to the soil. So these women grow Guinea. If Guinea is not enough, the cinnamon, you have heard about cinnamon. Wood is chopped and used in these gasifiers to run the entire laundry, the kitchen, and the hot water system. So, buying local produce. Some of the luxury hotels used to buy Tasmanian salmon. They would have on their menu Angus steak from Scotland. I see my friend Mr. Richard Hearn here from the Association of Tour Operators in UK. Actually, they are the ones who helped set up the responsible tourism partnership in Sri Lanka. He also comes from Scotland, isn't it, Richard? Yes. So what has happened now? These produce need, what do they need? How do we buy steak and salmon? We need dollars. We don't have dollars in Sri Lanka. So everybody has shifted to buying local meat,